And welcome to today's video, you guys. So if you guys just watched that struggle, I just got the SST in the shop for the first time. Even though we've had this truck for months, it has never laid foot in here. So got it in, combination of the RT. I pulled it forward with the RT all the way up to the house, and then I dragged it all the way back with the John Deere. And then I lined it up, got a running start from here and pushed it on here myself. So she's on here. The reason why I backed it in is so that I can get access with our cherry picker with the Gen 3 HEMI. And I wanted to put it on the lift. That way I can kind of assess things from below as well. So I can go up, see where everything's lining up and whatnot. And I can also, of course, get from here. So we're going to get that in there, test fit it, and see what we've got in this video. Bam, and just like that, you guys, there we go. So this is the 5.7 liter Gen 3 HEMI engine that came out of this truck originally before we Hellcat swapped it. So this is the engine we're gonna be test fitting out. I might have to run to the store. We're gonna see how this plays out. What I'm planning to do is use the cherry picker to lift it in here. And then we've got these engine mounts that I am doing some prototype stuff for. So if all goes well and as planned, you guys might be actually able to purchase these mounts. So these mounts are actually for a Dakota swap. So if you wanted to put a Gen 3 HEMI into a Dodge Dakota like we did with this one, these are the Hooker Blackheart mounts, but they haven't tried them yet with this. They actually fit into the hangers, but we don't know how the placement and fitment is. So that's what I'm here to test out here. And then I might end up trying to mock these up so that we can get these mass produced for you guys. But that's where we're at. But what I want to do is I'll lay it in here. We'll see how everything lines up. I might have to run, like I said, to the store and get one of those engine supports where it kind of sits here so that I can kind of hang the engine while I bring the vehicle up and then kind of mock things up as well. Because once we start going up and down, I don't think I'm going to be able to do that with their cherry picker with the truck way up in the air if I have to get underneath here to try to reassess things and restructure stuff. So that's where we're at. Let's lift it up, see what we got. Since it's only a few bolts though, I think I'm going to take out this cross member here, this radiator upper support. It's only a few bolts, and that way we can come in here without having to lift it over top. All right, so we've got the engine off the stand. I've got it on our hoist, and one of the things is I'm having to kind of like combat a little bit with it being the 4-post lift. The first set of locks is like way too high, so I just put it on 4 jack stands, just lowered it down to there. That gives us enough clearance to be able to get our cherry picker in there. But as you can see here, I haven't removed the front bumper yet. I did take out that cross brace like I was mentioning, but you can see there as far as getting it to clear the hood. Either you're gonna have to take the hood off, which is one option, but I really think I'm gonna have to take the front bumper off because I don't think this hoist is gonna have the reach that we need as far as getting back in the engine bay. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and it's only a few bolts and then this whole front clip comes off. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull the front bumper. That way I can actually get this in as much as I need to so that we can actually be able to reach back there, because you can see how far we got to go back to the engine mounts potentially, and this part of the pan has to get behind that cross brace there too. So let's go ahead and remove the bumper as well. Okay, so front bumper's off. It really just consists of 3 bolts here on each front frame horn, and then there's 1 bolt that holds the cross brace to here on each side, and then it pretty much just comes off. So it's not that bad, but let's go ahead. Like you can see here, now I can come back down so I can hopefully clear there. We can get it in, and then we're gonna have more reach. Okay, now we're talking. So like I said, I'm able to get a lot more reach on this little Harbor Freight ordeal here. But yeah, she is starting to get more into position. So let me fiddle with it, see if we are at all close on these brackets, and I'll update you guys in just a minute. All right, guys, so it is actually the next day. I worked on this as much as I could yesterday, and then I went to the Freedom Factory last night for spectator drag. So where I'm at with this is, originally what I was hoping, if I haven't already explained this, is these are the Hooker Blackheart Dakota engine swap mounts, and they look strikingly similar in the mounts to the Ram versus the Dakota. So when you have a V8 Magnum in the Dakota or the Ram, the mounts are nearly identical, but in placing those engine mounts on the Gen 3 and putting it in here, I've got them fitting, I've got them in the hangers, but the motor is just ever so slightly turned. So I do think they will work, but I will have to modify them slightly. We're cleared on the pan, cleared on our oil filter, and it's sitting there. And also our exhaust manifolds, she's tight in there, but they are clearing as well. All right, so this is our 727 transmission. It's a 3-speed. Apparently it was built, it's got some sort of name on it. We still haven't been able to determine what this sticker says, but fluid looks really good in it. We might end up doing this whole builds with the 3-speed just to get things running. I kind of want to see what condition that's in as well. And then we might 8-speed swap this, but for now, let's get everything else sorted out. So what we're gonna do is yank this out, bolt that up. Really, to put the 727 on, it's not a whole lot of work. We need an adapter flex plate, and you can pretty much bolt this up to the Gen 3. So we'll pull it out, bolt it up, and then I'm gonna slide it back in here. That way the transmission can give us our approximate position for the engine so that it's in the right spot. So now I've got this bolted up, get it in here, and then that way I can get our transmission mount kind of situated and get a rough idea of where this thing needs to be. We've got the engine sitting in here with the transmission connected. I have this one engine mount here, and that one is on. So what I would like to do is this one, like I said, I'm happy with how this is sitting at the moment. We've got good clearance here in the firewall, nothing's hitting. And then with this engine mount not in place, I just have it suspended right here. I've also got good clearance back here. It's not like excessive, but it's keeping it reasonable. And then you can see here, hopefully you can see there, got good clearance underneath there. So what I need to do now is get my transmission mount in there. So I'm gonna go ahead and get that thing bolted up. All right, so I've been looking at this, messing with this for a couple days now, and we are underneath this thing kind of for the first time. I've been looking at it, but you guys, underneath is for a old 97. This thing is in really, really good shape. So yeah, the mufflers are kind of nasty. They're old Flowmasters and exhaust, but I mean the frame itself, like, I can clean all this up really, really good. There's like, this thing is pretty dang good condition for what it is. So the shocks definitely have seen better days, but again, all very, very minor stuff. So as far as what is going on with this, I'm doing my best to not modify or alter the frame on this, since it's kind of a rare truck. It might not be, you know, the highest dollar truck, but it is nonetheless a somewhat rare truck. So in case I ever want to restore it back to a 5.9 or somebody does, I don't want to cut the actual frame horns or anything. But what I'm up against is on the HEMI, the exhaust manifolds or exhaust ports come off on like almost a 45 off the head. On the Magnum, they come off on like a 90-degree from the head. So the exhaust manifolds are actually straight up on the Magnum setup. And I can illustrate that by showing you guys this over here. So see how the exhaust manifolds are like standing up like this? On the HEMI, they're coming off on like a 45. So this actually gives you a bit more clearance for the exhaust. And what I'm noticing is on this particular one, this frame horn here for the actual engine mount, it sits up a lot higher and it's getting close to my exhaust manifold. So you'll notice here, this one, it goes down, it cuts down and is below this frame rail. This one sits above the frame rail. So because of that, I'm having to lift this side higher than I really want to, with giving me some exhaust clearance. If I was absolutely dead set on making this thing a dedicated HEMI, and I might, I know a lot of guys probably won't appreciate me saying this, but if I were to just cut that frame horn, cut it below and re-drill the hole and notch it out, the slot lower, like in a similar position to this, that should just bolt right up. Do I go that route, or do I modify the bracket and lift this engine higher than I need to be able to clear the exhaust manifolds and give us adequate room? That's kind of where I'm at. Right now I have the engine sitting like this a little bit, so I'd have to raise this side even more, and I still can barely even fit my fingers in here. So I don't have a ton of clearance above that bracket there on the frame. But this stuff is dang close, you guys. Like, the Dakota one almost works. So all I've done on this side is I spaced it out about 1/2 inch with some washers because I'm trying to get this to go over a little bit. And this one's sitting beautifully in the bracket. And this one, like I said, almost works. I'd be willing to bet if I were to cut this, chop it down, put the hole in the same position as this one is, like if you measured from this flat portion and up, same here. If you measured from this flat portion and up, I guarantee you this would just fall right into place. Which I guess technically speaking, I wonder if I just drill a hole right here and on the other side, if I can just mount this bracket lower and call it a day. It might not be a bad option, you guys. I bet you this would just about bolt up if I were to do that. I might have to move it just ever so slightly, but you can see there the holes are almost good to go. Just for fun, let me take this bolt out here and bolt it to the actual frame and see if it lands in a appropriate position. Okay, so I think I have solved most of the mystery, you guys. I am going to end up doing what I was talking about because this mount is just, for the exhaust design on the Hemi, it is just way too high. If I end up trying to lift everything up to give us sufficient clearance for the exhaust right here, our driveline angle goes way out of whack. Like it's like well over 5 degrees, and that's not even with meeting the adequate clearance. Like right now it's like almost touching and I'm already like over 5.5 degrees of driveline angle. So for that reason, I don't want to go up that high and have the whole drivetrain like sitting on a crazy angle, because then your driveline angle and your U-joints will just be screaming at you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this thing back down, yank the whole drivetrain again. I'm going to bust out the plasma. I'm going to cut this thing across, and then I'm going to re-drill the hole in the same spot as this one, because you can see here this bracket comes down on a nice angle, and then here, and I'm going to re-drill it, do the slot, make it look all factory. And I'll keep this piece. If I ever decide to put a magnum back in it, which is probably never, then we could go ahead and just weld this piece back on. But I'm just gonna come across here, and then we'll slot it the exact same way, and then we'll be well on our way to make this whole ordeal work. So that's the plan. Let's get cracking. And just for good measure, because I can already hear it in the comments, don't cut the SST, what are you doing? Don't cut that thing, it's rare. It is literally sitting on the manifold right now, and the engine is level. So just to give you guys some perspective, like I have it in this hanger here with good adequate clearance through here, and this side is literally sitting on the manifold. So it kind of has to happen, you guys. It's just the way these heads are designed and the way the exhaust manifold comes off. We can't have this big protrusion here. So out she comes. Okay, so now that the engine is out of there, you guys can see what I am talking about. This one comes across nice with the edge of the frame. This one sticks way up, so I need to do the same profile on this side, and then I can drill and slot the same hole on this side so that we have adequate clearance through here for our exhaust. All right, so I'm gonna show you guys what to do. So right here, you'll see the measurement from the other side of the slot is 4.5. And so what we're effectively going to do is go on this side of the slot, and I've made my line 4 and 4.5. So I'm going to cut it across. I kind of made a couple, but it's the one in the middle. So I'm going to come across 4.5 there. On this side, it's actually a little bit shorter. So it's actually 4 and 1/4 to the peak right there. Hopefully you guys can see. And so we're going to do the same thing. I made my line on this side. So just on the other side of the slot is 4 and 1/4. I don't know if you guys can see that, but 4 and 1/4 to right here. It's gonna taper across. And what I also did was I just traced down where the slot is, because once we lop that off, we're not gonna know exactly where it was. So our hole is gonna end up in here, and we'll measure that afterwards and drill it. Same thing on this side. We've got our slot for our hole. So let's go ahead. I think I was originally gonna use a plasma, but I think I'm just gonna use a cutoff wheel. I can get it in here nicely, and it'll make a nice straight line. So we'll do that. All right, guys, so I did that modification. So now the end result is something that mirrors this side. So as you can see there, they both slope down as well. And I ended up putting the channel in there. I'm not sure how like deep down into here I want to go, but I should get us pretty close. And then hopefully I don't have to remove the engine again to test fit it. I can hopefully just lift it up, Dremel that out more if I need to go further down. But the slot's there. It's going to work as, you know, the original design is. It's just moved down more where we need it. So let's go ahead and get this engine back in here and see what we got. Okay, we are in real good shape, guys. So now you can see we've got tons of room through here. I gotta jack this thing back up and get the transmission back on the transmission bracket. Might have to play a little bit with the left or right, but I pretty much matched it. I think I even left this one a little bit higher, but either way, yeah, this one is a slight bit higher because I wanted to leave some room for adjustment, but I think all said and done, I'm just gonna adjust the actual mount and we'll be golden. But that one at least has the same characteristics as the other side, so we'll have good clearance on our manifolds on both sides now. So let me get this thing up, get the transmission in place, and we are sitting very, very nicely. Okay, so transmission is in place, and what we're finding right now is these mounts are almost a direct bolt-on for us, you guys, with the exception of having to trim this mount like you see here, but it's working beautifully. So this one is 100% bolted up. So you can technically just bolt this straight up after you modify the mount. And then on this side, what I'm gonna have to do is, you guys could technically, if you're trying to do this on a budget without welding potentially, I did have these spacers in here. So I had these washers in here, like a 1/2 inch, and it did bolt and drop right in. But what I wanna do is I am going to cut this bracket off here, and then I'm gonna re-weld it. So that's what I'm gonna do right now, and then we should be pretty much good. So right now it's sitting a little bit high up on this side because I have to get that mount out of there, but essentially I'm going to take that out. I'm going to cut off those two portions, get this perfectly level, because right now it's just ever so slightly like this, and then I'll go ahead and weld that in and we will be pretty much good to go here. So let me take that out. Like I said, I'm going to cut the bracket off and then weld it in place. I might end up just kind of pie cutting it because I think the top is close but the bottom needs to swing a little bit, and we'll go from there. All right, so I ended up cutting off that part of the mount and I fit in that pie shape there, and I'm gonna start tacking things in place, and then I'll pretty it all up once I get it out of there, but I'm just gonna start tacking in these pies. And that was the altercation I had to make to this side. This side I managed to get to work all as planned. This one I have to make the altercation. So I'm gonna go ahead, tack that all in place so I can take it out of there, weld it solid, and we should be good to go, boys. Okay, so I got a bunch of ugly tacks in place because I'm not an expert welder by any means, but she is holding, so now I can take it out of there, I can weld it, clean it all up, paint it. Okay, so our engine mount is all welded up, albeit I don't claim to be an expert welder, but trust me, she's strong. So painted it back up, now it is in place, and what I'm gonna do is go ahead, we're gonna put the engine back in. I took it out so I can kind of get everything situated. I'm gonna go ahead and throw it back in, and we can bolt this up and she should be good to go. All right, boys, so she is in there. So we have this sitting on our freshly fabbed mounts. Everything is looking real good. Everything clears, all that good stuff. So some people might say, why did you put the 727 in there? Well, I'm just fitting it for now. This was the transmission that was in here. We have so much room for any transmission we could possibly want. So we do have an 8-speed over there on the shelf, which we can put in. Only thing is then we would have to get a third-party controller to control the 8-speed. And I kind of want to see what this 727 is all about. It's supposed to be built to some extent, and the fluid looks crystal clear in it. So I don't know, might just be something to get it running for now and go from there. So mounts are in. Again, just to recap, these are Hooker Blackheart engine mounts for a Dakota HEMI swap that we had to modify just the one side to get it to fit, but everything is bolted up. She's in here, she's sitting nice. So let's go ahead and put it down on the ground. I'm gonna throw this intake on it. I do have a 6.4 intake manifold as well on the shelf, thanks to my buddy Shane. And at some point, we'll probably end up spicing this engine up. So we are going to do a bunch of 5.7 stuff too, because I know a lot of guys want to see some 5.7 stuff, but let's put this down on the ground, throw the intake on, and kind of recap. Heck yeah, boys, check that out. Even the engine cover fits beautifully. So super, super happy with the outcome on that and how she all fits. You can see there, we've got sufficient clearance by our firewall on both sides. Got good clearance on our brake booster. I am super pumped on how this is sitting in here. So she's good to go. So what's left, you guys, and I probably look crazy right now, I gotta shave. I've just been working on this thing like crazy, trying to get this finally situated. But next thing is gonna be plumbing, electrical, all that stuff. So now that the engine's sitting in there, I might just get the truck running, at least with the stock engine for now, and then do the upgrades, because I do at some point want to do cam and all that stuff, but I kind of just want to get the thing running. Then we can also go back and go later and do stuff like that as far as, you know, cam, all that cool stuff. I might have a set of performance heads coming, so if that does come through, we're working, I'm talking with a couple companies right now. If that happens, then we'll do the cam and everything at the same time. So I don't want to just slap a cam in here and then be pulling the heads off a few weeks later if those heads end up coming for us. So super happy. Again, I will link those down below. Comment down below as well if you guys want these mounts to be available for purchase for you guys. I'm curious to know. And that's pretty much it. So second gen Ram is well underway. Give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe. We'll see you guys on the next video.